What if the key to finding peace in a world that never stops moving has been waiting for you for over 2,000 years? In a time where chaos seems to be the only constant, the ancient philosophy of Stoicism offers a timeless path to unshakable inner peace. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." These words remind us that tranquility isn't about controlling the world around us, but mastering the world within us. Today, we're diving into 22 Stoic habits that can help you build that unshakable calm, no matter what life throws your way. From morning reflections to embracing discomfort, these practices are designed to help you navigate life's challenges with clarity and resilience. So, as we explore these habits, take a moment to reflect on your own life. What's one area where you could use a little more peace? Let's begin this journey together. Now, turning to the first Stoic habit, let's explore the power of morning reflection. The way you begin your day shapes everything that follows. It's not just about waking up and rushing into the chaos of life. It's about taking a moment to ground yourself, to set a calm and focused mindset that will carry you through whatever comes your way. The Stoics understood this deeply. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, believed that morning rituals were essential for clarity and self-awareness. He once said, "Begin at once to live and count each separate day as a separate life." This powerful idea reminds us that every morning is a new opportunity to start fresh, to align our thoughts and actions with what truly matters. So, how can you put this into practice? One simple yet transformative habit is journaling. Take just a few minutes each morning to write down 3 things you're grateful for. It doesn't have to be grand or complicated. It could be as simple as the warmth of your coffee, the sound of birds outside your window, or the support of a loved one. This practice shifts your focus from what's lacking to what's abundant in your life, setting a positive tone for the day ahead. Gratitude, as the Stoics taught, is a powerful tool for cultivating contentment and resilience. But morning reflection doesn't stop there. It's also a time to ask yourself intentional questions. What kind of person do you want to be today? What challenges might you face, and how can you approach them with wisdom and calm? By starting your day with these reflections, you're not just reacting to life, you're actively shaping it. You're reminding yourself of your values and priorities, which helps you stay grounded even when things get tough. Now, take a moment to consider your own mornings. How do they currently set the tone for your day? Are you rushing through them, or are you taking the time to reflect and prepare? If you're not already practicing morning reflection, this could be the perfect opportunity to start. Remember, it's not about adding more to your to-do list. It's about creating a small, meaningful ritual that helps you connect with yourself and your purpose. As Seneca wisely said, each day provides its own gifts. What will you do with the gift of today? Now, turning to the second Stoic habit, let's explore the power of embracing the dichotomy of control. How much of your stress comes from trying to control the uncontrollable? Think about it. How often do you find yourself worrying about things that are entirely outside your influence? The weather, traffic, other people's opinions, or even the outcome of a project at work, these are all things we can't fully control. And yet, we often exhaust ourselves trying to change them. This is where the Stoic principle of the dichotomy of control comes in, and it's a game changer for building inner peace. Epictetus, one of the most influential Stoic philosophers, taught this principle with remarkable clarity. He said, "Some things are within our power while others are not. Within our power are opinion, motivation, desire, aversion, and, in a word, whatever is of our own doing. Not within our power are our body, property, reputation, office, and, in a word, whatever is not of our own doing." In other words, the key to tranquility lies in focusing on what you can control, your thoughts, actions, and responses, and letting go of what you can't. This doesn't mean you stop caring about external outcomes. It means you stop letting them dictate your emotional state. Let's bring this into a modern context. Imagine you're at work and a major project deadline is approaching. You've done everything in your power to prepare. You've planned meticulously, communicated clearly, and put in the hours. But now you're stressed because your colleague hasn't completed their part and the client's feedback is delayed. Here's the Stoic approach. Focus on what you can control, your effort, your attitude, and how you handle the situation. Let go of what you can't control, your colleague's actions, the client's timeline, or even the final outcome. By doing this, you free yourself from unnecessary stress and channel your energy into what truly matters. So, how can you apply this in your own life? Start by making a simple list. Write down the things you can control and the things you can't. For example, you can control your daily habits, your reactions to criticism, and how you spend your time. You can't control the economy, other people's decisions, or the past. This exercise isn't just about awareness, it's about empowerment. When you clearly see what's within your control, you can direct your energy more effectively and let go of the rest. Take a moment to reflect. What's one thing in your life right now that you're trying to control but can't? How might it feel to release that burden and focus instead on what you can influence? Remember, the goal isn't to stop caring about the world around you. It's to stop letting the uncontrollable parts of it steal your peace. As Epictetus reminds us, happiness and freedom begin with a clear understanding of one principle. Some things are within our control and some things are not. What will you choose to focus on today? Now turning to the third Stoic habit, let's explore the practice of negative visualization. This might sound counterintuitive at first. Why would anyone want to imagine worst-case scenarios? But for the Stoics, this was a powerful tool for building resilience and cultivating gratitude. Seneca, one of the great Stoic thinkers, often spoke about the importance of preparing for adversity. He said, "What is quite unlooked for is more crushing in its effect, and unexpectedness adds to the weight of a disaster." This is a reason for ensuring that nothing ever takes us by surprise. The idea behind negative visualization is simple. By imagining the worst that could happen, you prepare yourself mentally and emotionally for life's uncertainties. This doesn't mean dwelling on negativity or expecting the worst in every situation. Instead, it's about acknowledging that challenges are inevitable and equipping yourself to face them with calm and clarity. When you visualize potential difficulties, you reduce the fear of the unknown and gain a deeper appreciation for what you already have. Let's bring this into a practical context. Imagine you're worried about your financial stability. Maybe you've been saving for a big purchase, but unexpected expenses keep popping up. Instead of letting anxiety take over, try this Stoic exercise. Visualize what would happen if you lost your job or faced a major financial setback. Picture the steps you would take to recover, cutting unnecessary expenses, finding temporary work, or leaning on your support network. By mentally preparing for this scenario, you not only reduce the fear of it happening, but also realize that you have the resilience to handle it. At the same time, this exercise can help you appreciate the stability you currently have, fostering a sense of gratitude. The same principle applies to health concerns. If you're worried about a medical issue, imagine the worst-case outcome. How would you adapt? What resources or support systems would you rely on? By confronting these fears head-on, you strip them of their power and remind yourself of your ability to persevere. Seneca put it this way: "The wise man thinks of trouble in advance, and when it comes, he is not troubled." So how can you apply this practice in your own life? Take a moment to reflect on a challenge you fear, whether it's a career setback, a health issue, or a relationship conflict. visualize the worst-case scenario and think through how you would respond. What steps would you take? What strengths would you draw on? By doing this, you're not only preparing yourself for adversity, but also cultivating a deeper sense of gratitude for the present moment. As you reflect, consider this. What's one fear or challenge that's been weighing on your mind? How might visualizing the worst-case scenario help you feel more prepared and less anxious? Remember, the goal isn't to dwell on negativity, but to build resilience and appreciate the good in your life. As Seneca reminds us, he who has anticipated the coming of troubles takes away their power when they arrive. What will you choose to prepare for today? Now turning to the fourth Stoic habit, let's explore the power of cultivating gratitude daily. Gratitude is the antidote to dissatisfaction. It's a simple yet profound practice that shifts your focus from what you lack to what you already have. The Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most revered Stoic philosophers, often reflected on the importance of appreciating the present moment. He wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." This mindset of gratitude was central to his philosophy and a key to his inner peace. For the Stoics, gratitude wasn't just a fleeting feeling, it was a disciplined practice. They believed that by regularly acknowledging the good in their lives, they could foster contentment and reduce the grip of desire and envy. This practice helps you see the abundance that already exists around you, even in the smallest things. It's not about ignoring life's challenges, but about balancing them with a recognition of what's going well. So, how can you incorporate this into your daily life? One practical way is to keep a gratitude journal. Each day, take a few minutes to write down 3 things you're grateful for. These don't have to be grand or life-changing. They can be as simple as a warm cup of coffee, a kind word from a friend, or the beauty of a sunset. The act of writing them down helps you pause and truly appreciate these moments, no matter how small they may seem. Over time, this practice trains your mind to notice and savor the good, even in the midst of difficulties. Let's bring this to life with an example. Imagine you've had a tough day at work. Maybe a project didn't go as planned, or you had a disagreement with a colleague. Instead of dwelling on what went wrong, take a moment to reflect on what went right. Perhaps you had a productive meeting earlier in the day, or you received support from a coworker. Maybe you're simply grateful for the opportunity to learn and grow from the experience. By shifting your focus to these positive aspects, you can transform your perspective and find peace even in challenging situations. The beauty of gratitude is that it's always available to you. No matter what's happening in your life, there's always something to be thankful for. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "Do not indulge in dreams of having what you have not, but reckon up the chief of the blessings you do possess, and then thankfully remember how you would crave for them if they were not yours." This perspective helps you appreciate what you have rather than longing for what you don't. So, here's a reflective prompt for you. What are 3 things you're grateful for right now? Take a moment to think about them. It could be your health, your relationships, or even the fact that you're taking steps to build a more peaceful and resilient life through Stoicism. By practicing gratitude daily, you'll find that contentment grows and dissatisfaction fades. As Marcus Aurelius wisely noted, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. What will you choose to focus on today? Now turning to the 5th Stoic habit, let's explore the practice of developing emotional detachment. How often do your emotions dictate your actions? For many of us, emotions can feel overwhelming, pushing us to react impulsively in ways we later regret. The Stoics, however, saw emotions differently. They believed that emotions are not truths but impressions, mental reactions to events that we can choose to observe rather than be ruled by. Epictetus, a prominent Stoic philosopher, put it this way: "It's not what happens to you but how you react to it that matters." This simple yet profound idea is the foundation of emotional detachment. Emotional detachment doesn't mean suppressing or ignoring your feelings. Instead, it's about creating a space between what you feel and how you respond. The Stoics taught that by observing your emotions without immediately acting on them, you gain clarity and control. This practice allows you to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively, even in the heat of the moment. It's a skill that takes time to develop, but the rewards are immense: greater peace of mind, healthier relationships, and a stronger sense of self-mastery. Let's bring this to life with a practical example. Imagine you're in a heated argument with a loved one. Emotions are running high, and you feel anger bubbling up inside you. In that moment, it's easy to say something hurtful or make a decision you'll later regret. But what if, instead of reacting immediately, you paused and observed your anger? What if you reminded yourself that this emotion is just an impression, not a truth that demands action? By creating that mental space, you give yourself the opportunity to respond with patience and understanding rather than lashing out. This shift can transform the dynamic of the conversation and help you resolve conflicts more effectively. The Stoics believed that emotional detachment is especially important in relationships where emotions can often cloud judgment. When you learn to observe your feelings without being controlled by them, you can approach disagreements with a calm and rational mindset. This doesn't mean you stop caring, it means you care enough to respond in a way that aligns with your values and long-term goals. As Epictetus wisely noted, no man is free who is not master of himself. Emotional detachment is a key step toward that self-mastery. So, here's a reflective prompt for you. Can you recall a recent situation where your emotions took the lead? How did you react, and how might you respond differently if you practiced emotional detachment? Take a moment to reflect on this. Perhaps it was a moment of frustration at work, a disagreement with a friend, or even a personal disappointment. By observing your emotions without letting them dictate your actions, you can cultivate a sense of inner calm and make choices that align with your best self. As the Stoics remind us, true freedom comes from mastering your emotions, not being mastered by them. What will you choose to observe today? Now, turning to the sixth Stoic habit, let's explore the power of living in the present moment. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Confine yourself to the present." This simple yet profound statement captures the essence of what it means to truly focus on the here and now. The Stoics understood that much of our anxiety and stress comes from dwelling on the past or worrying about the future. By anchoring ourselves in the present, we can find a sense of calm and clarity that eludes us when our minds are scattered. Long before mindfulness became a modern trend, the Stoics were practicing a form of it. They believed that the present moment is all we truly have control over. The past is gone and the future is uncertain, but the here and now is where we can take action and make meaningful choices. This focus on the present isn't about ignoring responsibilities or avoiding planning. It's about fully engaging with what's happening right now without being weighed down by regrets or fears. Let's bring this idea to life with a practical example. Think about multitasking, something many of us do every day. Whether it's checking emails while eating lunch or scrolling through your phone while watching TV, multitasking often feels like a way to get more done. But in reality, it can leave us feeling more stressed and less productive. When we split our attention, we're not fully present in any one activity, which can lead to mistakes, frustration, and a sense of being overwhelmed. The Stoics would argue that by focusing on one thing at a time, we not only do it better but also experience it more deeply. This is the essence of mindfulness, giving your full attention to the task or moment at hand. So here's a reflective prompt for you. Can you spend 5 minutes today fully present in an activity? It could be something as simple as sipping a cup of tea, taking a walk, or even having a conversation with someone. Notice the details, the warmth of the cup in your hands, the sound of your footsteps, or the expressions on the other person's face. By practicing this kind of presence, even for a short time, you can begin to train your mind to stay grounded in the present moment. Over time, this habit can help reduce anxiety and bring a greater sense of peace to your daily life. The Stoics remind us that the present moment is a gift, one that we often overlook in our rush to get things done. By learning to live in the here and now, we can find a deeper sense of fulfillment and reduce the stress that comes from constantly looking backward or forward. What will you choose to focus on today? Now turning to the 7th Stoic habit, let's explore the concept of accepting impermanence. What if you knew nothing lasts forever? This question lies at the heart of Stoic philosophy, reminding us that change is the only constant in life. The Stoics, particularly Epictetus, taught that clinging to things as if they will never change is a recipe for suffering. Instead, they encouraged us to embrace the natural flow of life, recognizing that everything, whether it's a job, a relationship, or even our own lives, is temporary. As Epictetus wisely said, no great thing is created suddenly any more than a bunch of grapes or a fig. If you tell me that you desire a fig, I answer that there must be time. Let it first blossom, then bear fruit, then ripen. This idea of impermanence isn't meant to make us pessimistic or detached. Rather, it's a call to appreciate what we have while we have it without becoming overly attached. When we accept that change is inevitable, we can approach life with greater flexibility and resilience. Think about career transitions, for example. Many of us have experienced the stress of losing a job or shifting to a new role. In those moments, it's easy to feel like the ground is crumbling beneath us, but the Stoics would remind us that this is simply part of life's ebb and flow. By accepting that no job lasts forever, we can focus on adapting and finding new opportunities rather than resisting the change. The same principle applies to relationships. Whether it's a friendship that fades or a romantic partnership that ends, the pain of loss often comes from our resistance to change. The Stoics would encourage us to cherish the time we have with others while understanding that relationships, like all things, evolve. This doesn't mean we shouldn't care deeply, it means we should care without clinging. By accepting impermanence, we can love more freely and grieve more gracefully when the time comes. So, here's a reflective prompt for you. Can you think of a recent change you resisted? Maybe it was a shift in your routine, a move to a new city, or even a change in a relationship. How did your resistance affect you? The Stoics would invite you to consider how accepting that change as natural might have brought you more peace. By practicing this mindset, you can begin to see change not as a threat but as an opportunity for growth and renewal. The Stoics remind us that impermanence is not something to fear but something to embrace. By letting go of our attachment to how things should be, we open ourselves to the beauty of how things are. What change will you choose to accept today? Now turning to the 8th Stoic habit, let's explore the practice of voluntary discomfort. The Stoics believed that intentionally seeking out discomfort was a powerful way to build resilience and mental toughness. This might sound counterintuitive. Why would anyone choose to endure hardship when life already presents its fair share of challenges? But the Stoics, like Seneca, saw great value in this practice. As Seneca once said, difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body. By willingly facing discomfort, we train ourselves to handle life's inevitable hardships with greater ease and composure. Historically, Stoic philosophers would engage in practices like fasting, sleeping on hard surfaces, or exposing themselves to cold temperatures. These weren't acts of self-punishment but exercises in self-discipline. The goal was to remind themselves that they could endure discomfort and still thrive. By voluntarily stepping into situations that tested their limits, they cultivated a sense of inner strength and independence. This practice also helped them appreciate the comforts they did have, fostering gratitude and reducing their dependence on external conditions for happiness. So how can we apply this in our modern lives? Start small. Try taking a cold shower instead of a warm one, or skip a meal to experience fasting for a day. These acts might seem trivial, but they serve as reminders that we are capable of enduring discomfort without falling apart. The discomfort itself isn't the goal, it's the mental fortitude we build by pushing through it. Over time, these small acts of voluntary discomfort can help us face larger challenges with greater confidence and resilience. Consider this: when we avoid discomfort at all costs, we become more fragile. We start to fear challenges and shy away from opportunities for growth. But when we embrace discomfort, even in small doses, we train our minds to see challenges as opportunities rather than threats. This shift in perspective can be transformative, helping us navigate life's ups and downs with a steadier hand. Here's a reflective prompt for you. What's one act of voluntary discomfort you can try this week? Maybe it's waking up an hour earlier, going for a run in the rain, or spending a day without your phone. Whatever it is, approach it with curiosity and openness. Notice how it feels to step outside your comfort zone and reflect on what it teaches you about your own resilience. By practicing voluntary discomfort, you're not just building mental toughness, you're reclaiming your power to choose how you respond to life's challenges. What discomfort will you embrace today? Now turning to the 9th Stoic habit, let's explore the idea of focusing on virtue over outcomes. What matters more, how you win or whether you win? The Stoics believed that true success isn't measured by external achievements but by the integrity of your actions. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, put it this way: waste no more time arguing about what a good person should be. Be one. For the Stoics, virtue, living with wisdom, courage, justice, and self-discipline, was the highest good. It wasn't about the results you achieved, but the character you demonstrated along the way. In a world that often prioritizes outcomes, whether it's landing a promotion, winning a competition, or gaining recognition, it's easy to lose sight of what truly matters. The Stoics remind us that external success is fleeting and often outside our control. What we can control, however, is how we choose to act. Did we make decisions with honesty and fairness? Did we treat others with respect and kindness? These are the questions that define a virtuous life. Consider a modern example. Imagine you're faced with an ethical dilemma at work. Perhaps you're tempted to cut corners to meet a deadline or exaggerate your achievements to impress your boss. The Stoic approach would be to ask yourself, what's the right thing to do regardless of the outcome? By prioritizing integrity over short-term gains, you align your actions with your values. Even if the results aren't what you hoped for, you can take pride in knowing you acted with honor. This principle applies to personal life as well. Think about a recent decision you made. Maybe it was how you handled a disagreement with a loved one or how you responded to a difficult situation. Did you prioritize being kind and fair, or were you more focused on getting your way? The Stoics would argue that the way you navigate these moments says more about your character than any external success ever could. Here's a reflective prompt for you. Take a moment to consider a recent decision you made. Did you prioritize virtue over outcomes? If not, what could you have done differently? The next time you face a choice, ask yourself, what would a virtuous person do? By focusing on integrity rather than results, you cultivate a sense of inner peace that no external achievement can match. After all, as the Stoics taught, true success lies not in what you accomplish, but in who you become. Now turning to the 10th Stoic habit, let's explore the idea of limiting external desires. How much of what you want do you truly need? The Stoics believed that happiness doesn't come from accumulating possessions, but from freeing ourselves from the endless pursuit of more. Seneca, one of the most influential Stoic thinkers, put it this way: "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." In other words, true wealth lies not in what you own, but in your ability to be content with what you have. In today's world, we're constantly bombarded with messages telling us that we need more money, more gadgets, more status. But the Stoics remind us that this endless chase for material things only leads to dissatisfaction. Why? Because no matter how much we acquire, there's always something else to desire. The more we rely on external possessions for happiness, the more we become slaves to our own cravings. Seneca warned that materialism is a trap, one that distracts us from what truly matters, cultivating inner peace and living a life of virtue. Consider the practice of decluttering or embracing minimalist living. When you let go of unnecessary possessions, you create space, not just in your home but in your mind. Think about the last time you cleaned out a closet or donated items you no longer used. Didn't it feel freeing? That's because you are releasing the weight of excess, simplifying your life, and focusing on what truly adds value. The Stoics would argue that this act of letting go isn't just about physical items. It's about training yourself to detach from the idea that happiness comes from external things. Here's a practical example. Imagine you're tempted to buy the latest smartphone, even though your current one works perfectly fine. The Stoic approach would be to pause and ask yourself, do I really need this, or am I just chasing a fleeting sense of satisfaction? By resisting the urge to acquire more, you strengthen your ability to find contentment in what you already have. This doesn't mean you can't enjoy nice things. It simply means you don't let them define your happiness. So here's a reflective prompt for you. Take a moment to identify one thing in your life that you can let go of. It could be a physical item, a habit, or even a mindset that no longer serves you. What would it feel like to release it? By limiting your external desires, you create room for what truly matters: inner peace, gratitude, and a deeper connection to your values. After all, as the Stoics taught, the less you need to be happy, the freer you become. Now turning to the 11th Stoic habit, let's reflect on mortality. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." This powerful reminder, known as memento mori, Latin for remember you must die, was a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy. The Stoics didn't see death as something to fear, but as a tool to bring clarity and urgency to life. By keeping the inevitability of death in mind, they believed we could live more intentionally, focusing on what truly matters. Think about it. If you knew your time was limited, how would you spend it? Would you waste hours scrolling through social media, arguing over trivial matters, or chasing things that don't align with your values? Probably not. The Stoics used the awareness of death as a way to cut through distractions and prioritize what's meaningful. It's not about being morbid, it's about using the reality of our finite lives to make better choices. As Seneca put it, it's not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Here's a practical example. Imagine you're setting life goals. Without the awareness of mortality, it's easy to fall into the trap of chasing goals that society or others expect of you, like climbing the corporate ladder, buying a bigger house, or accumulating wealth. But when you reflect on your mortality, you're forced to ask yourself, are these goals truly aligned with my values? Will they bring me lasting fulfillment? The Stoics would argue that the awareness of death helps us focus on goals that contribute to a life of virtue, connection, and purpose. Consider this. If you had 1 year left to live, what would you do differently? Would you spend more time with loved ones, pursue a passion you've been putting off? Let go of grudges or forgive someone who hurt you. These are the kinds of questions that memento mori invites us to ask. By reflecting on our mortality, we gain the clarity to live with intention and make choices that align with our deepest values. So here's a reflective prompt for you. Take a moment to imagine you have 1 year left to live. What would you prioritize? What would you let go of? How would you want to be remembered? By embracing the Stoic practice of reflecting on mortality, you can live a life that's not only more intentional but also more meaningful. After all, as the Stoics taught, the awareness of death isn't a burden, it's a gift that helps us make the most of the time we have. Now turning to the 12th Stoic habit, let's explore the power of self-discipline. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. Without it, even the most well-intentioned plans can fall apart. The Stoics, particularly Epictetus, placed immense value on self-mastery. He believed that true freedom comes from controlling our desires and impulses rather than being controlled by them. As Epictetus famously said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." This idea is at the heart of Stoic discipline, aligning our actions with our values even when it's difficult. Think about it. How often do we set goals for ourselves only to abandon them when the going gets tough? Whether it's sticking to a fitness routine, saving money, or breaking a bad habit, discipline is what keeps us on track. The Stoics understood that self-discipline isn't about punishing ourselves or living a life of deprivation. It's about making conscious choices that reflect our deepest values and long-term goals. It's about saying no to short-term temptations so we can say yes to what truly matters. Here's a practical example. Imagine you're trying to break a habit like procrastination. You know it's holding you back, but every time you sit down to work, you find yourself scrolling through your phone or getting distracted by something else. The Stoic approach would be to remind yourself of your higher purpose. Why is it important to complete this task? How does it align with your values and goals? By focusing on the bigger picture, you can strengthen your willpower and resist the urge to give in to distractions. As Epictetus taught, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Self-discipline also requires us to confront discomfort. The Stoics believed that growth happens outside our comfort zone. Whether it's waking up early, eating healthier, or practicing patience in difficult situations, discipline often means doing things we don't feel like doing in the moment. But over time, these small acts of self-control add up, leading to greater resilience, confidence, and inner peace. So here's a reflective prompt for you. Take a moment to identify one area of your life where you need more discipline. Is it your health, your finances, your relationships, or your personal growth? What small, consistent actions can you take to align your behavior with your values? Remember, discipline isn't about perfection, it's about progress. By practicing self-discipline, you're not just building better habits, you're building a stronger, more intentional version of yourself. As the Stoics taught, the path to inner peace begins with mastering your own mind and actions. Now turning to the 13th Stoic habit, let's explore the importance of seeking wisdom over pleasure. What are you chasing, wisdom or temporary satisfaction? The Stoics believed that true fulfillment comes not from indulging in fleeting pleasures but from pursuing knowledge, growth, and self-improvement. As Seneca wisely said, "The greatest obstacle to living is expectancy, which hangs upon tomorrow and loses today." You are arranging what lies in fortune's control and abandoning what lies in yours. In other words, chasing momentary pleasures often distracts us from what truly matters, our own growth and understanding. The Stoics saw wisdom as the highest good, a path that leads to lasting contentment and inner peace. Unlike pleasure, which is often short-lived and dependent on external circumstances, wisdom is something we cultivate within ourselves. It's a lifelong journey of learning, reflecting, and applying what we've learned to live a more meaningful life. Think about it. How often do we sacrifice long-term growth for short-term gratification? Whether it's binge-watching a show instead of reading a book, scrolling through social media instead of learning a new skill, or indulging in unhealthy habits instead of taking care of our well-being, these choices may bring temporary comfort but leave us feeling empty in the long run. Here's a practical example. Imagine you have a free evening. You could spend it watching mindless entertainment, or you could use that time to read a book, take an online course, or engage in a meaningful conversation. The Stoic approach would be to ask yourself, which choice aligns with my values and long-term goals? Which one will leave me feeling more fulfilled and at peace? By choosing wisdom over pleasure, you're investing in yourself and your future. As Seneca reminds us, it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. This doesn't mean you should never enjoy life's pleasures. The Stoics weren't against joy or relaxation. They simply believed that these things should not come at the expense of our growth and integrity. The key is balance. Enjoy the moment, but don't let it distract you from what truly matters. Wisdom, after all, is about understanding what brings lasting value and making choices that reflect that understanding. So here's a reflective prompt for you. Take a moment to think about how you spend your free time. Are you prioritizing activities that bring temporary satisfaction, or are you investing in your personal growth and well-being? What small changes can you make to seek wisdom over pleasure? Remember, every choice you make shapes the person you become. By choosing wisdom, you're not just enriching your mind, you're building a life of purpose, resilience, and unshakable inner peace. As the Stoics taught, the pursuit of wisdom is the path to true freedom and fulfillment. Now turning to the 14th Stoic habit, let's explore the power of empathy and compassion. How often do you truly try to understand someone else's pain? The Stoics believed that empathy, putting ourselves in another's shoes, was not just a moral virtue but a practical tool for building stronger, more meaningful connections. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, emphasized this when he wrote, "What injures the hive injures the bee." In other words, when we harm others or fail to understand their struggles, we ultimately harm ourselves. Empathy, then, is not just about kindness. It's about recognizing our shared humanity and fostering harmony in our relationships. The Stoics understood that empathy requires effort. It's easy to judge others or dismiss their feelings, especially when we're caught up in our own challenges. But true empathy asks us to pause, listen, and genuinely try to see the world through someone else's eyes. This doesn't mean we have to agree with them or solve their problems. It simply means acknowledging their experience and offering compassion. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself to approach others with patience and understanding, even when they acted in ways he found difficult. He wrote, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. They are like this because they cannot tell good from evil, but I have seen the beauty of good and the ugliness of evil, and have recognized that the wrongdoer has a nature related to my own." Here's a practical example. Imagine you're in a heated argument with a colleague or loved one. Emotions are running high, and it feels like neither of you is being heard. Instead of reacting defensively or trying to win the argument, take a moment to pause. Ask yourself, what might they be feeling right now? What's driving their behavior? By shifting your focus from your own perspective to theirs, you create space for understanding and resolution. This doesn't mean you have to abandon your own needs or values, but it does mean approaching the situation with empathy and compassion. Often, this simple shift can transform conflict into connection. So here's a reflective prompt for you. In your next conversation, practice active listening. Instead of planning your response or waiting for your turn to speak, focus entirely on what the other person is saying. Notice their tone, their body language, and the emotions behind their words. Ask clarifying questions if needed, and resist the urge to interrupt or judge. By doing this, you're not just hearing their words, you're truly understanding their perspective. And in that understanding, you'll find the seeds of empathy and compassion. As the Stoics taught, when we connect with others on a deeper level, we not only strengthen our relationships but also cultivate a sense of inner peace and fulfillment. After all, empathy is not just a gift we give to others, it's a practice that enriches our own lives. Now turning to the 15th Stoic habit, let's explore the transformative power of letting go of resentment. Holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. This vivid metaphor captures the self-destructive nature of holding grudges. The Stoics understood that resentment doesn't harm the person who wronged us, it harms us. Seneca, one of the most influential Stoic philosophers, put it this way: anger, if not restrained, is frequently more hurtful to us than the injury that provokes it. In other words, when we cling to anger or bitterness, we allow those emotions to control us, draining our energy and clouding our judgment. Forgiveness, then, is not about excusing someone else's behavior, it's about freeing ourselves from the emotional weight of resentment. The Stoics believed that forgiveness is a form of self-liberation. When we let go of grudges, we reclaim our peace of mind and regain control over our emotions. This doesn't mean we have to forget what happened or pretend it didn't hurt. It simply means choosing not to let that pain define us or dictate our future. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that people act based on their own understanding and limitations. He wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." By refusing to mirror the negativity of others, we rise above the situation and protect our inner peace. Here's a practical example. Imagine you've had a falling out with a family member or a colleague. Maybe they said something hurtful or acted in a way that felt unfair. The initial sting of their actions might linger, and it's natural to feel anger or disappointment. But holding on to those feelings only keeps you tied to the past. Instead, try this Stoic approach. Reflect on the situation objectively. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I grow from this experience? By shifting your focus from blame to growth, you take back your power. You might even find that the other person's actions were rooted in their own struggles or misunderstandings. This doesn't justify their behavior, but it can help you see them as human, flawed, just like everyone else. So here's a reflective prompt for you. Take a moment to identify one grudge you've been holding onto. It could be something recent or something from years ago. Ask yourself, how has this resentment affected me? What would it feel like to let it go? Remember, forgiveness is not about the other person, it's about you. It's about choosing peace over pain and moving forward with a lighter heart. As the Stoics taught, when we release the weight of resentment, we open ourselves to greater clarity, freedom, and inner peace. So, what's one grudge you're ready to release today? Now turning to the 16th Stoic habit, let's explore the profound impact of simplifying your life. How much of your life is spent on things that don't truly matter? This question cuts to the heart of what the Stoics called the art of living simply. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic teachers, emphasized the importance of focusing on what's essential. He said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." In other words, true abundance comes from stripping away the unnecessary and honing in on what truly adds value to our lives. The Stoics believed that complexity often distracts us from our purpose, creating stress and confusion where there could be clarity and peace. Think about it. How many of your daily activities, commitments, or possessions actually contribute to your well-being or align with your values? The modern world bombards us with endless distractions, social media, consumerism, and a constant push to do more, have more, and be more. But the Stoics remind us that this pursuit of excess often leads to dissatisfaction. By simplifying, we create space for what truly matters: meaningful relationships, personal growth, and inner tranquility. It's not about depriving yourself, it's about intentionally choosing where to direct your energy and attention. Here's a practical example. Consider your schedule. How many of your commitments are truly necessary? Are there meetings, events, or obligations that drain your time without adding value? The Stoic approach would be to evaluate each commitment and ask, does this align with my values? Does it bring me closer to my goals or further away? By cutting out the non-essentials, you free up time and energy for what truly matters. Similarly, think about your physical space. Clutter in your environment often reflects clutter in your mind. Decluttering isn't just about tidying up, it's about creating a space that supports clarity and focus. As Epictetus taught, simplicity is a form of freedom. So here's a reflective prompt for you. Take a moment to identify one unnecessary commitment or distraction in your life. It could be a habit, a relationship, or even a physical possession that no longer serves you. Ask yourself, how does this complicate my life? What would it feel like to let it go? Remember, simplifying isn't about perfection, it's about progress. By removing just one thing that doesn't truly matter, you take a step toward greater focus, peace, and alignment with your values. As the Stoics showed us, a simpler life is a richer life. So, what's one thing you're ready to simplify today? Now turning to the 17th Stoic habit, let's explore the transformative power of humility. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." At its core, humility is about recognizing our limitations and understanding that we don't have all the answers. The Stoics saw humility not as a weakness, but as a profound strength, a path to wisdom and self-awareness. It's about staying grounded even in moments of success and acknowledging that we are part of something larger than ourselves. Humility allows us to see the world with clarity, free from the distortions of ego or arrogance. When we practice humility, we open ourselves to learning from others, admitting our mistakes and growing from them. The Stoics believed that arrogance blinds us to truth, while humility illuminates it. Think about it. How often do we let pride or the need to be right interfere with our relationships, decisions, or personal growth? Humility reminds us that we are all works in progress, and that true wisdom comes from embracing our imperfections. Consider this practical example. Imagine you're in a leadership role. A team member offers a suggestion that challenges your approach. Do you dismiss it outright, or do you take a moment to listen and consider their perspective? Humility in leadership means valuing the contributions of others, even when it means setting aside your own ego. It's about creating an environment where everyone feels heard and respected. Similarly, in personal growth, humility allows us to seek feedback and learn from our failures. It's not about diminishing ourselves, but about recognizing that growth often comes from acknowledging what we don't know. Here's a reflective prompt for you. Think about a recent situation where you could have been more humble. Maybe it was a disagreement where you insisted on being right, or a moment of success where you let pride take over. Ask yourself, how did my lack of humility affect the outcome? What could I have done differently to approach the situation with more openness and self-awareness? Remember, humility isn't about self-deprecation, it's about balance. It's about knowing your worth while also recognizing that there's always more to learn and room to grow. As the Stoics taught, humility is a cornerstone of inner peace. It keeps us grounded, fosters deeper connections with others, and opens the door to continuous growth. So, where in your life can you practice a little more humility today? Now turning to the 18th Stoic habit, let's explore the art of cultivating patience. How often do you rush through life without appreciating the process? In a world that values speed and instant results, patience can feel like a forgotten virtue. Yet the Stoics understood that patience is not just about waiting, it's about embracing the journey, even when it's slow or uncertain. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, once said, time heals what reason cannot. This simple yet profound statement reminds us that some things simply take time, and resisting that truth only leads to frustration. Patience, in the Stoic view, is about accepting delays and setbacks as natural parts of life's journey. It's about understanding that not everything is within our control, and that rushing or forcing outcomes often leads to more harm than good. Think about it. How many times have you felt stressed or anxious because things weren't happening as quickly as you wanted? The Stoics would argue that this stress comes from our resistance to the natural flow of life, rather than the delays themselves. By cultivating patience, we learn to align ourselves with the rhythm of life, finding peace even in the waiting. Consider this practical example. Imagine you're working toward a career goal, like a promotion or starting a new business. You've put in the effort, but the results aren't coming as fast as you'd hoped. It's easy to feel discouraged or even tempted to give up. But what if, instead of focusing on the outcome, you focused on the process? What if you saw this time as an opportunity to refine your skills, build resilience, and deepen your understanding of your craft? Patience allows us to see setbacks not as failures, but as stepping stones on the path to growth. It's about trusting that every step, no matter how small, is moving us forward. Here's a reflective prompt for you. Take a moment to identify one area in your life where you need more patience. Maybe it's a personal goal that's taking longer than expected, a relationship that's evolving slowly, or even a daily routine that feels monotonous. Ask yourself, how can I shift my perspective to see this delay as an opportunity rather than an obstacle? What can I learn or appreciate in this moment of waiting? Remember, patience isn't about passivity, it's about active acceptance. It's about finding meaning and purpose in the process, even when the destination feels far away. As the Stoics taught, patience is a key ingredient in building unshakable inner peace. It helps us navigate life's uncertainties with grace and resilience, reminding us that some of the most beautiful things in life take time to unfold. So, where in your life can you practice a little more patience today? Now turning to the 19th Stoic habit, let's explore the importance of focusing on effort rather than results. Success is not in the result but in the effort. This simple yet powerful idea lies at the heart of Stoic philosophy. The Stoics, like Epictetus, believed that the true measure of virtue lies not in what we achieve, but in how we approach our endeavors. As Epictetus once said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. This reminds us that our effort, our attitude, and our commitment to doing our best are what truly define us, regardless of the outcome. In a world that often judges us by our accomplishments, it's easy to become fixated on results. We set goals, work hard, and then feel disappointed if we don't achieve them exactly as planned. But the Stoics would argue that this focus on outcomes is misguided. Why? Because results are often outside of our control. We can't always predict how things will turn out, but we can control the effort we put in. By shifting our focus to the process, the daily actions, the small steps, the consistent effort, we free ourselves from the anxiety of chasing outcomes and instead find fulfillment in the journey itself. Consider this practical example. Imagine you're training for a marathon. You've set a goal to finish in under 4 hours, but on race day, you cross the line in 4 hours and 15 minutes. If you're only focused on the result, you might feel disappointed. But if you shift your perspective to the effort you put in the early mornings, the long runs, the discipline it took to stick to your training plan, you'll see that the real victory was in the process. The effort you invested made you stronger, more resilient, and more disciplined, regardless of the final time on the clock. This is the Stoic approach, valuing the effort over the outcome. Here's a reflective prompt for you. Think about a recent failure or setback in your life. Maybe it was a project at work that didn't go as planned, a creative endeavor that fell short of your expectations, or a personal goal you didn't quite reach. Instead of focusing on the result, ask yourself, what did I learn from the effort I put in? How did this experience shape me or help me grow? By reflecting on the process, you'll likely find that the effort itself was far more valuable than the outcome. It's in the effort that we build character, resilience, and wisdom. The Stoics teach us that life is not about achieving perfect results, it's about striving to live with integrity, discipline, and purpose. When we focus on effort rather than outcomes, we free ourselves from the pressure of perfection and instead find joy in the act of doing. So, where in your life can you shift your focus from results to effort? How can you embrace the process and find meaning in the journey, no matter where it leads? Remember, success is not in the destination, it's in the steps you take to get there. Now turning to the 20th Stoic habit, let's explore the transformative power of silence and solitude. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." This profound insight reminds us that true peace and clarity often come from within, and that moments of quiet reflection are essential for recharging and reconnecting with ourselves. In a world filled with constant noise and distractions, the Stoics understood the importance of stepping back, embracing stillness, and listening to the wisdom of our inner voice. The Stoics valued solitude not as a form of isolation, but as a deliberate practice to cultivate self-awareness and mental clarity. By creating space for silence, we allow ourselves to process our thoughts, reflect on our actions, and gain perspective on our lives. This practice is especially relevant today, where the constant buzz of technology and social media can leave us feeling overwhelmed and disconnected. Taking time for solitude is like hitting the reset button. It helps us slow down, recenter, and approach life with renewed focus and calm. Consider this practical example. Imagine setting aside just 10 minutes each day to sit in silence, free from the distractions of your phone, computer, or television. During this time, you might choose to meditate, journal, or simply sit quietly and observe your thoughts. This small act of solitude can have a profound impact on your mental well-being. It allows you to step away from the chaos of daily life and reconnect with your inner self. Over time, you'll likely find that these moments of stillness help you feel more grounded, present, and in control of your emotions. This is the essence of the Stoic practice of silence and solitude, finding clarity and strength in the quiet moments. Here's a reflective prompt for you. Today, challenge yourself to spend 10 minutes in silence. Find a quiet space, turn off all distractions, and simply be present with your thoughts. Notice how it feels to step away from the noise and busyness of life. What thoughts or emotions arise? How does this practice affect your sense of calm and focus? By making silence and solitude a regular part of your routine, you'll cultivate a deeper connection with yourself and develop the inner peace that the Stoics so highly valued. The Stoics teach us that silence is not empty, it is full of answers. In the stillness, we find the clarity to navigate life's challenges, the strength to stay true to our values, and the wisdom to live with intention. So, where in your life can you create more space for silence and solitude? How can you use these moments to recharge, reflect, and reconnect with what truly matters? Remember, the quietest moments often hold the loudest truths. Now turning to the 21st Stoic habit, let's explore the art of accepting criticism gracefully. How do you react when someone criticizes you? For many of us, criticism can feel like a personal attack, triggering defensiveness or even anger. But the Stoics saw criticism differently. They viewed it as an opportunity for growth, a chance to reflect and improve. Seneca once wrote, "If anyone tells you that a certain person speaks ill of you, do not make excuses about what is said of you, but answer, 'He was ignorant of my other faults, else he would not have mentioned these alone.'" This perspective reminds us that criticism, even when harsh, can reveal blind spots and help us become better versions of ourselves. The Stoics believed that our reactions to criticism say more about us than the criticism itself. Instead of taking offense, they encouraged us to pause and ask, is there truth in this feedback? Can I learn something from it? By detaching our emotions from the judgment of others, we can approach criticism with curiosity rather than defensiveness. This doesn't mean we have to agree with every critique, but it does mean we can use it as a mirror to examine our actions and intentions. In doing so, we transform criticism from a source of pain into a tool for self-improvement. Consider this practical example. Imagine you're at work and your manager gives you feedback on a project. They point out areas where you could have done better. Your first instinct might be to feel frustrated or embarrassed, but what if you chose to see this as an opportunity? Instead of dismissing the feedback, take a moment to reflect on it. What can you learn from their observations? How can you apply this insight to improve your performance in the future? By approaching criticism with an open mind, you not only grow professionally, but also build resilience and confidence in your ability to adapt and improve. Here's a reflective prompt for you. Think about a recent time when someone criticized you. How did you respond? Did you react defensively, or did you take a moment to consider their perspective? What could you have done differently? By reflecting on your response, you can begin to shift your mindset and see criticism as a gift rather than a threat. The next time you receive feedback, try to approach it with curiosity and gratitude. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I use this to grow? The Stoics teach us that criticism is not something to fear or avoid. It's an opportunity to become stronger, wiser, and more self-aware. By embracing feedback with grace and humility, we not only improve ourselves but also deepen our relationships with others. So, how will you choose to respond the next time you face criticism? Will you let it define you, or will you use it as a stepping stone to become the best version of yourself? Remember, the way you handle criticism reveals your character and shapes your path forward. Now turning to the 22nd and final Stoic habit, let's explore the transformative power of generosity. Generosity is not about what you give but how you give. It's about the intention behind your actions and the willingness to share what you have, whether it's your time, resources, or kindness. The Stoics, including Marcus Aurelius, believed that giving freely to others was not just a moral duty but a path to inner peace and fulfillment. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "What we do now echoes in eternity." This reminds us that even the smallest acts of generosity can have a lasting impact, not just on others but on our own sense of purpose and connection. For the Stoics, generosity was a way to align ourselves with the greater good and to recognize our shared humanity. It wasn't about grand gestures or material wealth. It was about cultivating a spirit of giving in everyday life. Whether it's offering a listening ear to a friend in need, volunteering your time to a cause you care about, or simply sharing a smile with a stranger, these acts of kindness ripple outward, creating a sense of unity and compassion. By giving freely, we not only uplift others but also remind ourselves of what truly matters in life. Consider this practical example. Imagine you're walking through your neighborhood and you notice an elderly neighbor struggling to carry groceries. You could choose to walk past, caught up in your own thoughts, or you could stop and offer to help. That small act of generosity might only take a few minutes of your time, but it could make a world of difference to someone else. And in that moment, you're not just helping them, you're reinforcing your own values and strengthening your connection to the community. The Stoics would argue that such moments are opportunities to practice virtue and to live in alignment with your highest principles. Here's a reflective prompt for you. Think about how you can practice generosity today. It doesn't have to be something big or elaborate. It could be as simple as sending a thoughtful message to a friend, donating to a cause you believe in, or even just holding the door open for someone. The key is to give with an open heart without expecting anything in return. ask yourself, how can I make someone's day a little brighter? How can I contribute to the well-being of others, even in a small way? By making generosity a daily habit, you'll not only enrich the lives of those around you, but also cultivate a deeper sense of purpose and fulfillment within yourself. The Stoics teach us that generosity is a reflection of our character and a way to live in harmony with the world. It's a reminder that we are all interconnected and that our actions, no matter how small, can create positive change. So, as you go about your day, consider how you can embody this spirit of giving. What act of generosity will you perform today? How will you use your time, energy, and resources to make a difference? Remember, the way you give is just as important as what you give. By practicing generosity, you not only build unshakable inner peace, but also contribute to a kinder, more compassionate world. Now, turning to the conclusion of our journey through the 22 Stoic habits, let's take a moment to reflect on the profound wisdom we've explored. Each of these practices, from morning reflection and embracing the dichotomy of control to cultivating gratitude, practicing voluntary discomfort, and embodying generosity, offers a unique pathway to building unshakable inner peace. Together, they form a comprehensive framework for living a life of virtue, resilience, and tranquility, even in the face of life's inevitable challenges. The Stoics understood that inner peace isn't something we stumble upon by chance. It's the result of deliberate, consistent effort, a daily commitment to aligning our thoughts, actions, and values with what truly matters. These habits remind us that we have the power to shape our inner world, regardless of external circumstances. By focusing on what we can control, practicing gratitude, and embracing discomfort, we cultivate a mindset that is both grounded and unshakable. As Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This timeless truth underscores the essence of Stoicism. Our strength lies not in avoiding hardship, but in how we respond to it. These 22 habits are not just ancient philosophies. They are practical tools that remain as relevant today as they were thousands of years ago. Whether you're navigating the stresses of modern life, seeking deeper meaning, or simply striving to live with greater intention, the Stoic path offers a way forward. It's a reminder that peace is not found in external achievements or possessions, but in the way we choose to live each day. As we bring this exploration to a close, I want to leave you with a question to reflect on. Which of these habits will you start practicing today? Perhaps it's beginning your day with intentional reflection, letting go of what you can't control, or finding moments of gratitude in the ordinary. Maybe it's embracing discomfort to build resilience or practicing generosity to connect with others. Whatever you choose, remember that small, consistent actions lead to lasting change. If you found value in this video, I encourage you to share your thoughts in the comments below. Which habit resonated with you the most? How do you plan to incorporate Stoic principles into your daily life? And if you're eager to dive deeper into the wisdom of Stoicism, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a video. Together, let's continue this journey toward unshakable inner peace and a life well lived. Thank you for watching, and remember, the power to transform your life lies